In Hull, bedroom tax affects around 5,500 people. Average earnings have dropped to around 12.6%, and unemployment figures have hit breaking point. The people of Hull are now struggling to make ends meet.
It's just causing real hardship to people. So if you want to address this problem, first of all, you have to deal with the fact that you've got to provide smaller properties for people to move into in the first place. That seems to be the missing piece of the jigsaw in this puzzle.
1 year on from its introduction, and people in Hull are hitting back.
2/3 of the households affected by the bedroom tax have at least one disabled member. This unjust tax is piling disadvantage on disadvantage. It expects children of the same gender to share bedrooms, yet we're still expecting schools to improve results of the most disadvantaged pupils.
The Hull City Council's Labour Group of Hull City Council have been very proactive in defending their residents against this tax. And what we're calling on the Labour Council to do is to come out with a commitment that they will not evict people who get into arrears due to the bedroom tax.
Councillor Jill Kennett is one of the councillors who's been indefinitely suspended from the ruling group at the Guildhall for speaking out against the government's austerity measures.
It's not business as usual. We've got the future generations. We're fighting now to stop people giving away the terms, conditions, rights that people, previous generations have fought, sacrificed and died for.
But Jill is not the only councillor who's been suspended. Councillor Gary Waring and Dean Kirk have also hit back. They've been supporting Hull People's Assembly, a group of activists who oppose measures like the bedroom tax.
I'm just scared of going in a different place. All I've known is living down 29th Avenue. Been on that one end, then at the other end, I've lived there, fetching my 5 children. Well, they're young adults now, but I lost one in July.
Fantastic point, especially regarding raising awareness about the help available. I think that's really important. Because people under the cost, they don't know what's out there.
What we wanted to do was come out to the local areas, to the estates, people that have been really affected by austerity, and sort of say, what's your experience of it and how can we help, and try and get them involved in opposing what the government, the council, authority are actually imposing on local residents.
Maureen Randall is one of those living in fear of the tax. The council are currently funding the payments with a pot of money that's about to run out, which means she's waiting for it to hit. She's lived down the same street most of her life and is a father's carer who also lives down the same street. The tax could mean she would have to downsize to a property in a different area, meaning her father would have to find a new carer.
It's horrible because I don't know if they'll kick me out of my house. Then my dad will be left alone, which I don't believe I'm going into residential care. I believe in looking after you own yourself. Because I look at it this way, they fetched you up. You're right to take care of them, and then the retirement and everything. So it will be heartbreaking if they did kick me out of my house. Because I fetched all my children up in there. And as I said, I lost one of my boys. So I don't think I'd just go mad if they kick me out of my house. Because my dad is dependent on me to look after him. But I said to him, I said, I'll always be here, but if they move me miles away from here, I won't be able to do it. Then it would just upset me all the time, knowing that I couldn't look after my dad.
The discretionary housing fund is set to run out next year, but with Labour promising to scrap the tax if they're elected next year, this means the council are not prepared to take out any long-term measures.
The Labour Party launched its campaign against the bedroom tax actually in Hull, and the Shadow Secretary of State for Work and Pensions came to Hull and met people affected directly by the bedroom tax, and that was launched several months ago. The Labour Party's also announced that were we to win the general election in 2015, then we would get rid of the bedroom tax because we think it's unfair and a cruel tax. So I've been involved in that. We've raised it in Parliament. All three Hull MPs have talked about the effect of the bedroom tax on our constituents. And yes, there's campaigning in the city, and I know Hull City Council, the Labour Control Council, have done everything they can to try and support people through often having to deal with building up arrears on their properties, just making sure they're getting all the other benefits they might be entitled to, and trying to support people in the best way they can.
Up and down the country, different authorities, housing stock is a much different mix. So if it's older stock flats, many of them are a high proportion of flats in some rural towns and villages and small cities. The demographics of it are much different to, say, Hull is. As far as Hull's concerned, there was no problem, so the bedroom tax effectively is causing a problem where people are transient and on the move, and the costs associated with people on the move are quite high. And so people are being given every opportunity to downsize, but we don't have sufficient properties for everybody who wants to downsize. So we've got people who want to move because they accept the advice we're giving them that they won't be able to manage this bedroom tax, but they are queuing because we have to select the person most in need to be able to downsize, and that's an unfortunate situation. If the government had looked at it in an objective manner and considered all the evidence and the representations, then they would have known this, that it's just really political dogma and it's effectively possibly costing more than it is saving.
Now councillors and MPs from outside of Hull are teaming up to help those suffering and to stop future austerity. John McDonnell, MP for Hayes and Harlington, and Councillor for Bridlington Town Council Sheila Finlay have travelled to Hull to find out how it's affecting people here.
These meetings give people confidence that they can go out there and campaign and win. It's all about building solidarity.
Listening to what other people have got to say is very valuable because you can then go back to your own wards, constituents, wherever you are, and tell them how actually you're not the only ones who are struggling. We have struggling all around, and more we band together and say to the government, enough is enough, and say to East Riding Council, my council, actually charging people 25% of council tax as well as the bedroom tax is just not appropriate. What they're going to live on? Do you want them to all starve?